At night the air was thick with, well, just the scent of night. It didn't smell at all like Toothless, because he didn't smell that well. I rounded a corner and went around the bend. I was following a delightful scent. It smelled a lot like fish. And then I came across the twins who were trying to scare fish legs, which probably couldn't have been easier, but why not help? I mean, it looked fun. I stepped over them. My head shone in the shadows, scaring them to death. Of course, they didn't know that I was there, and they probably thought they did it. Which, I mean, I probably should have taken the credit, but I was kind of busy following that delightful fish smell. I continued following the smell, and I came across a delightful pile of fish. When I ate it, the world seemed to go black. And when I woke up, well, I just didn't know where I was. Then I realized I was back in the town square, and everyone was going towards the Great Hall. Toothless went in with them, but quickly ran back out, horror lighting his gaze. He ran over to me. Hookfang, did you trash the hall that the humans apparently need? I was confused. I'd never gone anywhere near the Great Hall. No. Worry lit Toothless's gaze. Well, apparently they're accusing you. They think you did it. I didn't do it. I went and ate some weird fish that knocked me out, I replied, confusion lighting my gaze. He looked at me and then said, someone's trying to frame us for these things. First barf and belched with his shoes. He looked at the two dumb dragons who were sitting there, glancing at each other, but I think they were having a staring contest. Toothless then looked at all of his companions and then sighed. We need to keep a close lookout. The humans may be doing their best to guard, but whoever's framing us needs to deal with us. I like that idea. Besides, whoever framed me had better have done a good job of it. I mean, I could have trashed it way better. Toothless left, and we all stood outside for a long time, until they came back out. Our humans looked sad. I was confused, until I heard mumbling come from them. While most of us still couldn't understand the mumbling, Toothless had become pretty good, and there was worry that lit his gaze more. He looked at us. Guys, I think we're staying in a cage tonight. I didn't like that idea, especially when I knew where the cages were. I'd had to stay in that for 2 years of my life, and I never wanted to go back. I growled as Snotlet got on me. Maybe I could toss him off again. But I decided against it since Toothless was watching me carefully, probably not trusting I really didn't wreck the Great Hall. We were flown into a cage where we all put in. While we were putting, all the other dragons glared at me, especially Barf and Belch, which I didn't mind so much, except for the fact that Meatlug was also glaring at me. I blinked at them, and then suddenly Barf and Belch snarled, "It's all your fault we have to sleep in this jail." I could tell their humans were also arguing with my owner, but I was a little bit mad. "It's not my fault. I didn't do it," I snarled. Barf and Belch growled and automatically stepped forward on a thing, breaking it. I glanced at them. "Looks like you're on a rampage," I snarled, and automatically they lunged toward me, one of their heads biting at me. I jumped back and automatically burst into flames. I heard the leader of our humans, Hiccup, growling something at mine, who just growled back, "I'm not the boss of him." I'd figure those words out pretty fast. I grinned. That was sure true. No one was the boss of me. And then suddenly ideas lit the leader of our group's gaze. He automatically jumped on Toothless and took off. Toothless looked a little bit confused as well, but he said nothing. And then suddenly, we were all sleeping in our cage. A burst came from the sound of town. I was suddenly worried about Toothless. I may not think of him as a friend, but deep down I knew that he was. I jumped into the cage. The other dragons followed me, but we couldn't get out. It was really hard. We banged and shot at everything we got, but it wouldn't work. We kept trying to get out, but it wouldn't happen. We heard Toothless's call in the distance. We also heard yells and furious screams. It was scary. We didn't know what to do. I thought back to the day before when Snotlout had, let's just say jumped off me without my knowing. I had been chasing a butterfly in the air, and Toothless had growled at me, telling me that my owner was plummeting to certain death. I then went and jumped through Mildew's house. Maybe that's who's doing this, I suddenly had a thought. I automatically quickly pitched my idea to the other dragons, who gave me a look. "Mildew, he's not that smart," said Barfenfeld. And then they looked thoughtful. "Or is he?" I looked at them. Were they actually thinking? I blinked. No, that was impossible. Meatlug looked at me as well. It could be possible, she said slowly. But wouldn't you need something to do it with? And as long as I'm concerned, I don't think any of us have lost any claws lately. Or teeth to the boots. I thought for a moment, well, he doesn't necessarily need Monstrous Nightmare teeth. He doesn't need real Monstrous Nightmare claws or teeth. He could just use the relic. I mean, after all, doesn't he kill like tons of dragons? I snarled this softly. Meatlug looked still confused. I don't think so, she said softly. I sighed. Well, if they weren't going to believe me, Toothless would when he got back. Automatically, Toothless was flown back, but there was a look of horror on his rider's face, and so was there in his. He looked at us for a moment as though he was about to pitch some bad idea. I looked at him. What's wrong, Toothless? I asked softly, realizing this was not the time to make jokes. He looked at me for a moment before replying softly. They're kicking us off, after everything we've done for them. I had to agree that I was not exactly sad, but a little bit angry. Are you kidding me? I roared. After everything we've done, after we defeated, a dragon that we didn't have to, we could have ran away from the Red Death. Toothless gave me an arched eyebrow, if dragons could even arch brows, and then said softly, but we needed that. That was us together. I'm talking about all we did for their humans. They couldn't have lived without us. Hookfang looked thoughtful for a moment, and then finally I said, I have an idea. Oh, yeah, Toothless. What if Mildew's behind all this? Toothless gave me an interested look. You know, that's what Hiccup was thinking, he said softly. Maybe you're a little bit smarter than your writer, he mumbled, before walking off. I looked at him, trying to figure out if that was an insult or a compliment. And then at last, suddenly, my rider came to me. He looked so sad as he jumped on the saddle. I'm gonna miss you, boy, he said softly. I didn't understand this at all. What was happening? And then suddenly we began riding towards Dragon Island. It was not the best thing ever. And then as we arrived there, he dropped me down. I was confused. But then a butterfly flew by as he was saying goodbye to me, and I couldn't help but chase it. I guess that was just my instinct. And then when I came back, they were gone. Toothless looked at me and then sighed. I felt saddest for him after all. After all, how was he supposed to fly with no tail? I blinked at the other dragons. All of them looked sad. I didn't feel that sad, though. I knew they'd come back for us. Somehow, I just knew. There's another thing that was deeply confusing me. Mildew had done those scratches in the wall. Had he been the one who'd poisoned me with those fish as well? Made them think that I wandered off? I growled softly to myself. If I ever find out he did this, I growled again, hoping that I sounded threatening and awesome and cool, even though I probably wasn't. I looked around the island as the sun began to set. Toothless just stood staring. His eyes were filled with a dull look. I didn't like it. Our leader was supposed to be strong and awesome and night furious. Not like this. I watched him and wondered, maybe we are never going to see them again. This made sadness run through me. I thought as I blinked at the sunset, if I ever see Mildew again, I'm going to rip him apart. I snarled this out loud, and automatically Toothless as one of his eyes flashed towards me. And then a soft chuckle escaped his throat. I couldn't help but smile. I had done it. My jokes had actually been helpful for once. Maybe Toothless was right. Maybe I was a little bit better than my rider.